Hi, I'm Chris James. You're watching A Healthy Alternative, and today we're talking about how to lose 6 inches off your waist in one day. What does that look like? Well, when I very first noticed that the body was even capable of doing something like this was all the way back in 2017, 2018, something like that, when I was working with my brother Steven. So Steven was one of the first people that actually went on these very aggressive, extreme extended water fasts. And through that, we learned a lot of information. One of the things that I learned was about the fasting shrink week. Now, the fasting shrink week is simply put in a week. It's a 7-day period of time when you are water fasting where you'll lose, crazy amounts of inches off of your waist. But in exchange for that, you don't lose any weight. You might even gain half a pound or a pound during the fasting shrink week. Now, keep in mind, this is all good. When you're fasting, a lot of people are motivated by the weight loss, but the fact that you're actually shrinking and tightening, that's what you want. Because without the shrinking and tightening happening, now you're going to be looking at potentially having a lot of loose skin at the end of your challenge, and you don't want that, right? Nobody wants to lose skin. So one of the greatest superpowers of fasting is being able to lose large amounts of weight without loose skin. Now, of course, you got to focus on hydration during this process as well. However, if you do these things and you use fasting as your primary tool to lose weight, you will not have to worry about loose skin. So what we learned is you have this fasting shrink week that happens starting about day 14 all the way to day 21 if you do a water fast that is at least 21 days. People would also often ask, Chris, will I get the fasting shrink week if I only fast for 7 days? Will I get the fasting shrink week if I do an alternate day schedule? Like, what's up with the fasting shrink week with other fasting regimens? And I always respond, look, you're not going to get the same outcome. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. You're not fasting long enough for the body to go into what I call hyper-autophagy in order for you to get the benefits of the fasting shrink week. However, even though you're not experiencing the fasting shrink week, you are experiencing a shrinking and tightening. It happens in smaller increments. It just means that your weight loss and your inches are going to look different than if you were to just bust out a 21-day water fast. Now, fast forward and bring us all the way to 2025. All right. Now we are actively talking about the DR96, the DR48, our dry fasting protocols. And I thought this would be a good time to talk about the fasting shrink week as it relates to dry fasting. Do you get the fasting shrink week when you dry fast? And the simple answer is no, you don't get it. But there's a more exciting answer available for you guys. See, people get stuck on the fasting shrink week because it's just such a powerful tool. What if I told you that you could get the benefits of the fasting shrink week without having to fast for 21 days? That is where dry fasting comes in. See, dry fasting triggers hyper-autophagy very quickly. All right. So if it takes 14 days to trigger with water fasting, with dry fasting, you're seeing it at a third of the time. So if you're doing 10 days or less on a dry fast, which is more reasonable, because honestly, we don't teach dry fasting for more than 10 days. We don't teach 21-day dry fast, and most people aren't comfortable going there. So if you're doing a 10-day or less dry fast, you'll be able to get into hyperautophagy much quicker, which means you are going to see the benefits of the fasting shrink week. However, there's another caveat. With the fasting shrink week, during the week that you are actually experiencing the tightening and shrinking, you don't see the weight loss come off. With dry fasting, you continue to see the weight come off. So the only way for you guys to find out is obviously for you to adopt some longer dry fasts. And then once you start doing the longer dry fast, you have to be taping yourself every single day. So you're going to take your weight and you're going to tape your problematic areas or whatever area you want to focus your attention on. You're going to do that every single day. And over the course of 10 days, you'll have your data and you'll see the benefits. But the beautiful thing about this is you can actually get the fasting shrink week, like I said, within a 10-day dry fast, and it's just going to present differently. Okay, so we could see 2 inches come off, 4 inches come off, 6 inches is the most that I've seen come off in one day. You could see 6 inches come off. I say 6 inches because that's the most that I've seen. If we get people in large amounts focused on their inches and their weight during long stints of dry fasting, we could see even greater benefits. So if you guys are looking to bust down that waistline quickly, effectively, and safely, dry fasting is the key. Now, if you're gonna work at doing long-term dry fasting, I do not recommend you jump out the gate and just do it. I have a full guide for how to start your dry fast. It's specifically tailored for the DR48. However, what I want you guys to do is start with the DR48 and work your way up to the DR96, okay? And then after that, once you've mastered that, you move on to the long-term dry fasting of, 8-10 days. The DR48 just means 48-hour dry fast. The DR96 is a 4-day dry fast or 96-hour dry fast. And if you do 2 weeks of the DR48, you are more than well ready to do the DR96. And once you complete 1 week of the DR96, you are ready to go ahead and transition to a longer dry fast, okay? Assuming that you do it completely, you don't have any major issues, you're ready to go. All right. I have a gift. So I have put together a dry fasting guide for you guys. It is available on AHA Communities. So if you're listening to this, you want the guide, you don't need to ask where, you don't need to message me. Go join the AHA Communities. I'll put the link for that in the description and in the comment section. Once you're signed in, it's a free membership. Once you're signed in, go to the featured post area. That's where the guide will live. If you can't find it, create a post, ask for it. Someone will help you. They'll point you in the right direction. All right. You could use that as a tool to get yourself started with dry fasting to make sure you're safe and successful. And then you can start doing the long fast where you can start seeing these enormous amounts of inches coming off your waist in less than 2 weeks. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button for me. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.